Welcome to a new video! Today I'm going to share with you, as I promised, my Adegnister deck profile for an update after Power of the Elements. Now, Power of the Elements gave us the Mathmech Circular, which basically made this deck possibly be able to bring out an Arrival cyberse with 6,000 attack, which is absolutely insane, as I will explain in the list if you don't know the application of why this is so powerful. But before we jump right into the deck list itself, I'm going to remind you that if you want to see more videos like this and essentially support the channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It helps a lot. Of course, comment below what you think about the list and what you want to essentially just add or ask us questions. And of course, give a like to the video if you enjoyed. And without further ado, let's jump right into the list itself. Alright, so jumping into the deck list itself, we're going to start things off, of course, with our Adegnister monsters. Basically, we start with the 3 copies of a Chichi, which is your monster searcher. That's basically what it does. It has another effect that basically says that, well, at the start of the damage step, when you're a cyberse monster battle, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then destroy that monster you control, which doesn't really come out because we now don't really run the Fire Phoenix Adegnister, but still in a weird situation could come up. It's kind of like a really weird effect, but doesn't really matter. Point is, it search any other level 4 or lower Adegnister monster from your deck to your hand. Next up, we have the better starter, in my opinion, in a copy of Picari, because Picari have a little bit more options, as well just in general have both effects that are good, especially in this variation if you run the Mathmech engine, because this card, when it's normal special summon, add from your deck to your hand a copy of a spell or an ice spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, which is basically all of your spell and trap card lineup, as well as can actually make another Adegnister monster you control a level 4, which is just very, very good for rank 4 plays. As for the rest of the Adegnister monsters, we have one of each of the following, which are 1 Hiyari, 1 Bururu, 1 Doyon, 1 Denmari, and 1 Gachiri. All of these are, in my opinion, are just needed as one-offs, even though I sometimes want to run the second Doyon, but it's honestly just not really necessary, especially now with the Mathmech engine. Just before, I would say, like, for recovery in plays, you do need the 2 Doyons, but now it's just not really necessary because the Mathmech engine actually help you make a better board, and just in general, recovery doesn't really become that important as before. But regardless, Gachira is just a free special summon, which is also an Earth that does come up sometimes. Denmari is just a brick in your deck, but it's also just a great card, just in general, if you're able to send it to grave, because in the graveyard is just an Omni-Negate if you control a Link 6 cyberse monster, or should say a Link 6 monster in general. Doyon, like I said, it's your recovery guy. When you normal or special summon it, it's recover an Adegnister monster except another copy of itself from your deck to your hand. Actually, yeah, it can basically even add a copy of itself, but it doesn't really matter because we only play one. And then when it's sent to the graveyard for the link summoning of a cyberse monster, you're also able to add an ice spell or trap card from your deck, from your graveyard back to your hand. So that's also very, very good. As for Bururu, Bururu is the card that Foolish Burial this, or whatever you need to. Basically, it's your Foolish Burial that you can search, and it's a very, very important part of the combo on normal or special summon. And when it's sent to the Synchro Summon of a Synchro cyberse monster, you're able to revive the other material or one of the materials back to the grave from the graveyard to your side of the field. So let's say you use this and this to make a level 7, you're able to revive the Doyon back to your side of the field, which can actually be very, very good for your extension plays, as you'll see in the combos if you haven't seen an Adegnister combo in your life and you actually just want to learn, or just in general you just want to refresh yourself. As for Hiyari, she doesn't really do anything. She's just a free special summon if you control a cyberse, and actually does come up because it's of its different attribute to summon the 6,000 attack Arrival cyberse, which is actually a possibility to do now in this deck. And all of that possibility is thanks for the new, well, engine that we have in the deck now, which is the Mathmech engine, which will run 3 copies of Circular, 1 copy of Sigma, and 1 copy of Edition. This particular engine is the one that allows you to do this particular thing, because Circular is absolutely insane of a card. This card is basically Mathmech variation of Magician's Souls for cyberse, because it's just such a good card, but because you're able to basically well, send a Mathmech monster from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of itself, and then special summon it out of the hand. And on top of that, if you special summon a Mathmech monster out of your graveyard, or should say normal or special summon, should I say, not out of your graveyard. Normal or special summon a Mathmech monster, you're also on top of that able to search a Mathmech spell and trap card from your deck to your hand, which is ridiculous. Now it does also lock you to only attacking with one monster for the rest of the turn, but it doesn't really matter for you because your entire deck is just built around one monster, so it's not the end of the world. Also, you just use this for going first, so this card just does a whole lot of things. And also, one thing to also mention is because I've seen some weird variations that also add small world and things of that nature, like I guess over 40 kind of decks that kind of just like want to play that and play tons of hand traps, which I guess that makes sense if you're playing over 40. But right now, the deck have basically 15 starter cards due to this card existent. It's also an engine, also an extender, and it's also a starter card by itself. This card is absolutely insane. Mathmech Circular is a god bless for almost every cyberse deck in just existent for the time being. As for Sigma is just used here as a good foolish burial target for this, and if it's in the graveyard and you have no monster in your extra monster zone, you're able to special summon this out of the graveyard. It does banish itself when it leaves the field, but mostly you just take this and just make an Xyz rank 4, and it doesn't really matter. Addition is just a fire, which is also very, very good, and if it's in your hand, it's just a free special summon by giving a monster 1000 attack and just a free special summon, like I said, out of the hand, and then giving you additional kind of extension. So that is pretty good about the Mathmech monsters. But that pretty much does it for the monster lineup that you use. Only 16 monsters. The rest of the monsters are actually hand traps, which are 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 copies of Nibiru, 2 copies of DD Crow, and 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Now, if I had also, what is its name again, Crossout Designator, which I should get pretty soon, I would also run that because Nibiru is probably one of the only hand traps that can actually like super stop you when it comes to this deck. But regardless of that, Nibiru is not really played that much, but just in general, we can also just use this against our opponent, which is absolutely stupid. So if things not go all to plan, and we just need to summon something smaller, and we're just able to wipe the opponent's entire board, is actually pretty cool. Effect Veiler is just a decent hand trap. DD Crow is absolutely insane in this format, and Ash Blossom is just being Ash Blossom. Of course, you can change the hand traps however you like specifically, but these have been working really well for me. But that does it for the monster lineup with the hand traps. Now move on into the spells. For the spells, I run 3 copies of I Meet You and 3 copies of Signet Mining. I think these don't really need super explanation. Signet Mining is just discard a card, add any cyberse monster that is level 4 or lower from your deck to your hand, so it's basically everything beside your Denmari or Gachiri, but it's still very good and can also just get a Denmari out of your hand if it's stuck there, so that's also a very nice advantage for that. I Meet You is just reveal a cyberse monster with 2300 attack from your hand or extra deck, and then add an Adignister monster with the same attribute. So basically, for this particular card, you run Dark Templar, Heat Soul, Transcode, I guess Transcode not really, but you know what I mean, just if you need it, Transcode, Light Dragon, and, well, Wind Pegasus, which are also part of the combos that are essentially our cards that you, with these 5 attributes, you can actually search with this card, which you can search with just a Gachiri, a Pikari, an Achichi, a Bururu, and a Doyon, which is very good with this particular card. Of course, you take damage if you don't special summon the said monster, but it's not really the end of the world for this particular deck. So, yeah, that's actually this entire card thing. It's just another searcher, which is very good. And then for the rest of the spells, we run a very small lineup of spells. We're running 2 copies of Island, 1 copy of Idol Reborn, 1 copy of Fighting Spirit, 1 copy of Equation, and 1 copy of Coldbetter Grave. These are the rest of your spells. Basically, I would say that I might consider in the future cutting this down to 1 because it's not as important as it used to be, but I still think it's really important to actually see in your hand because sometimes your opponent will still negate your what is it called, infant, and if your opponent negates your infant and you don't have it in your hand and you don't have another copy in your hand to actually do things, sometimes you just get stuck. But I could see, because of the Mathmech engine, it's a little bit more or should I say less necessary to running 2. Still a very good card that you should run at the very least, in my opinion, 2, at least for the moment, because this card is what allowed the deck to actually be played. because this card says that if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you're able to special summon a level 4 or lower Adignister monster from your hand with a different attribute every single time, because you cannot special summon 2 Pikaris. You can summon, for example, a Pikari, a Bururu, a Doyon, and an Achichi in a turn, basically, if you have nothing in your main monster zone, which making this card really, really strong. Idol Reborn is your quick play monster reborn. Fighting Spirit is your other monster reborn. Idol Reborn is basically the better one out of the two and the one that you use more, but having another kind of monster reborn, so both of these are not hard ones per turn, are actually good, and it does have its benefits to riding Fighting Spirit. Equation is another monster reborn that you can search with your Mathmech stuff. If you draw into it, it's not the end of the world, although if you can or you want to, you can run Super Factorial, although I don't really see any reason to do that, because this deck doesn't really care about that much. And then Cold Better Grave is just to deal with annoying hand traps that can deal with your deck. And then for the only trap that we're running for the deck, of course, is the last hand trap, which is 3 copies of Infinite Permanence. If you don't know this channel, I absolutely love this card with a passion, so that's why I run 3 copies of this card. But that does it for the main deck. Now we'll move on into our extra deck. Very, very simple and very straightforward. We're running 1 copy of Lingaribo, 2 copies of Dark Infant Adignister for our Link 1s. Sometimes I actually want to run Link Spider instead of this, because this is probably the flex spot of the deck. It does come up that sometimes I need to run a Link Spider instead, of course, like I said, depending if the format run Nibiru or not. If the format run Nibiru, run Link Spider. If the format doesn't run Nibiru, I recommend to run this, because this is just allowing you for your Adignister monsters to be a little bit more flexible. Dark Infant is, like I mentioned before, your searcher for your field spell, and also on top of that, it's also a very, very useful card for your plays for the 6,000 attack Arrival Cyberse, or just in general, because you're able to kind of like, if you summon your, let's say, or should I say Dark Templar into the right extra monster zone, you're able to just like use this card effect to move to the left and then essentially open up 3 zones that you can actually summon 3 monsters into, and making things really easy for you to go into a higher attack Arrival Cyberse. So this card is very, very good, and it's also changed its attribute so it can become something like even Divine, which is very, very good. For your Link 2s, we're running 1 copy of Wicked for the combo, 2 copies of Splash Mage for the combo, and Update Jammer for the OTK. This one, Search Bururu for the most of the time. This one of these used for the combo, second one used for OTK plays. This one is just used for OTK plays, just in general. Link 3s, we have 1 Transcode, 1 Heat Soul, and 1 Dark Templar Adignister. Dark Templar, just important for the combo, summoning 3 monsters, just absolutely insane. Heat Soul is definitely a better option for the deck than Fire Phoenix, and also just in general, it's a good plan B just in case. Like, let's say, for example, your opponent just stopped you from going into your plays of Arrival Cyberse. You have this as a plan B, as a good card that just draw to you 2 cards which can actually be hand traps and essentially just continue plays, which is very, very good. Transcode is another revival, and it's also an Earth if you need for the effect, I guess, of I Meet You, but for the most part, it's another card that's just allowing you for OTK plays to actually do things. And that does it for those, and then for the 2 big ones, for the Link 4, I guess, I run 1 copy of Avermax, and for the Link 6, I run 1 copy of Arrival Cyberse. This should be access code if you have access to it. If not, Avermax is the next best thing. So if you have access code, just run access code. I just don't have it. It's a little bit too expensive for my taste. So I'm running Arrival Cyberse. Sorry, not Arrival Cyberse. Crusadia Avermax, which is not a bad option as well. As for the Arrival Cyberse itself, this card, as I mentioned at the start of the video, is now capable to be summoned with 6,000 attack and with 6, materials, I guess. So that means that you're able to use 6 monsters to link summon into this, meaning that you have 6,000 attack, and it's just absolutely insane of a card. Like, this is just so stupid because this is unaffected by anything, which the only ways to actually remove this is just tribute effects, or just in general, like, things that just don't affect this, but affect the entire field, like, not affect this as a card, like, for example, like a Kaiju, or, things that just, like, remove, that are not, like, removing this specifically in ways that are just, like, affecting this card. It just becomes super stupid when this card has 6,000 attack, because now even access code cannot contest to it, because access code will most of the time have 5,300 attack due to his essentially being a Link 4, by using a link 3 in another monster. Now, in order to actually pass this, you need to use a link 4 and then a 3 monsters worth of a link 3 or a link 3 to actually summon it, which makes it very, very hard to actually pass and win this. So this card becomes even more powerful and very, very annoying. So yeah, I think Arrival Cyberse is now absolutely insane, and it's just a very, very good Towers boss monster. And then for the non-link monsters that we run with that are also Cyberse and very, very necessary, Wind Pegasus ad Ignister, unfortunately a proxy of the rank 4 Searcher of Mathmech, Alborian or whatever his name is, and Light Dragon ad Ignister. Light Dragon is just good for going second and also for Picari searching capabilities. Wind Pegasus is just a good card in the combo because when it's basically a card removed from the field from your side of the field, you're able to banish it and then shuffle a card on the field from your opponent, which is absolutely insane. Just giving you, if your opponent just remove this for some reason, you're able to just spin something back, so it's pretty good. And then we also have this thing, which is basically you detach to, which most of the time what you do, and then you search Circular or Addition or whatever you need to, and it's a very important part of your combo. And it's also an Earth, which giving you another attribute for your plays with your Arrival Cyberse, and another reason why this card is basically able to just help you, or the Mathmech engine in general help you get to 6 interruptions arrival, or should I say 6,000 attack arrival Cyberse, because this also have the effect to tribute, I guess, a Mathmech monster to revive, or should I say Cyberse monster to revive a Mathmech monster from your graveyard, which you tribute itself, special summon like say an addition, revive with the equation, and then you got yourself 6 monsters to summon a 6,000 attack Arrival Cyberse. I don't know why I keep saying interruptions, but I think you get what I mean. But that's pretty much does it for the deck list as an overall. This deck list is really, really cool and very straightforward. I know the combos might actually going to take a little bit of a while. If you are interested in them and you want just to learn how to play the deck, you're more than welcome to go into them. If not, I also understand because they're pretty simple and straightforward. But for anybody who just want to learn, the combo section is of course waiting for you at the continuation of this video. Welcome to the combo section, and in the combo section I'm going to show you 3 combos that I think are very important for you to know playing this deck. All of the combos are 1-card combos that are essentially just showing you the different variations that you can do with your starters to essentially getting to what I mentioned before that is very hard to remove actually, the 6,000 attack Arrival Cyberse. And the first combo that we're going to do is basically capable, you need just the the Mathmech Circular that by itself already just enable your other combos to get to the 6,000 Arrival Cyberse, but also by itself can also just to get to that combo. Just to show you how broken of a card this is for Cyberse archetypes in general, because it just allows for so much playability and some pretty cool things that you can do. So let's get started with the combo. So starting things off, we're going to activate Circular Effect, send to the graveyard the Sigma, and special summon the Circular. Using the Sigma effect to special summon itself out of the graveyard, and then use Circular Effect to search the equation, we're now going to take both of these together and Xyz summon, of course, into, unfortunately, the proxy, but should arrive soon, Alberian or whatever his name is. They always have these names very, very confused. Regardless, we're going to use his effect immediately on summon, detaching 2, and add to your hand the Mathmech Addition. Addition effect, targeting it, special summon itself, and then we're going to use both Addition and this card to link summon into your copy of, well, Wicked. Now we're going to use the effect of Equation, or should I say put it here, because of the glare. We're going to special summon out of our graveyard either the Addition or the Sigma, or whatever, it doesn't really matter. And now we're going to use the effect of Wicked, of course, because a monster was summoned to its link. We're going to banish the Xyz and add from our deck to our hand the copy of Baruru. Because we haven't normal summoned yet, we're going to normal summon the Baruru. Sorry, it should be in attack position because we haven't normal summoned. And then normally in a normal combo of this, you will send to the graveyard the Denmari, but because we haven't started the Ad Ignister line of things, we're actually going to send to our graveyard the Picari. Now we're going to take both the Addition and the Wicked, and we're going to special summon out of our extra deck the Splash Mage. Splash Mage effect will revive out of the graveyard the Picari, and then we're going to take both Picari and the Bururu, because Picari effect is negated due to this card effect, so we cannot use its effect. We're now going to special summon out of our extra deck, the Wind Pegasus ad Ignister, which will trigger the effect of Bururu because it was sent to the graveyard, to special summon Bukari with its effect intact, and giving us the search for the I Meet You. Now we're going to activate the I Meet You, revealing to our opponent the Hitso, and then add from our deck to our hand the copy of Achichi. Now we're going to take the Bukari, link it off into our copy of Dark Infant, and use Dark Infant effect to search the copy of Island. We're now going to activate the Island, and we're going to link all three of these to link summon into our copy that have to be in this zone, because otherwise you cannot do this, of Dark Templar Adignister. Now we're going to use the effect of Island, special summon the Achichi. Achichi, special summon, now is going to search the Hikari. It's not going to search the Doyon, because we do need a 6th different attribute. Because we already have a Dark, we cannot really use the Doyon. So instead, we're going to search the Hiyari. It's not the most optimal thing to do, but it is what it is. Now we're going to take the Achichi, we're going to link it off, and we're going to link summon into our copy of Dark Infant. Chainlink 1 Templar, Chainlink 2 Dark Infant. Dark Infant is going to move, it's change its attribute to either Earth or Divine, whatever you want to. And then we're going to use the effect of Dark Templar to summon a Fire, and what it called? A Light and a Wind out of our graveyard. Then we're going to use the effect of Hiyari, special summon herself, do her to her own effect that says that if you control an Adignister monster, you can special summon it. Now we're going to take Hiyari, which is a water, Dark Infant, which is an earth or divine beast, or should I say divine technically, wind, light, fire, and dark. All 6 of these, and summon out of her extra deck the Arrival cyberse with 6,000 attack. This is a pretty easy thing to do now due to the existence of a card like Mathmech Circular. If this wouldn't have existed before, we couldn't have done this combo because we would have to sink so many resources to actually do this. But because of these particular cards, the new Mathmech engine, the deck is capable of doing something really strong as this. Now granted, we do not have the Dinmari in our graveyard, unfortunately, but we still have the removal of Wind Pegasus Adignister if this gets removed by any way, which should be very hard to do. But if it gets removed, we still have the spin back, so at least we have that going for us. But that does it for the first combo. Now we'll move on into, well, like I said, the better combos. Combo number 2. Alright, so for our second combo, I'm going to show you the second route of how to get to the 6,000 attack Arrival cyberse, which is a little bit better than the previous one that I show you, and this particular combo only requires the I Meet You. So let's get started. Starting things off, we're going to activate the I Meet You, and the I Meet You is going to reveal to the opponent the Hitso. We're now going to use that effect, of course, because of that, to add to our hand the Achichi Adignister, and then we're going to normal summon it. Use this effect, we're going to add from our deck to our hand the Bukari, and then we're going to link it off into our copy of Dark Infant. Dark Infant effect, we'll grab from our deck to our hand the field spell, and then we're going to activate the field spell and use this effect to special summon out of our hand the Bukari. Bukari effect, we'll grab this time because we already used this card. We're going to grab the Idol Reborn, and then we're going to take both the Bukari and the Infant to, well, link summon into your copy of Wicked. Now we're going to activate our Reborn spell, reviving out of our graveyard, let's say, the Bukari to one of the zones, triggering the effect of Wicked to banish the Infant, and add from our deck to our hand the copy of Bururu. Now this particular combo, unfortunately, is not as, how should I say this, hand-trap proof compared to the actually open up with this in Achichi, because you don't really have the Doyon in your hand, but it's still pretty good. Regardless, we're now going to take both of these, and we're going to link them off into our copy of Splash Mage. Now we're going to use the effect of the field spell, special summon the Bururu, and then use Bururu effect to actually send to our graveyard the Doyon. Not the Danmari, the Doyon. Now we're going to use the effect of Splash Mage, revive the Doyon, and then we're going to use Doyon with the effect negated and the Bururu to Synchro Summon into our copy of Wind Pegasus. Triggering the effect of the Bururu in our graveyard, we're going to special summon the Doyon, and now we can activate Doyon effect to grab from our graveyard back to our hand the copy of Chi-Chi. Now we're going to take both, or should I say all three of these, to link summon into our copy of, well, Dark Templar, which will trigger the effect of Doyon to add from our graveyard back to our hand the copy of Idol Reborn. In normal combos, you will add from your deck to your hand, or should I say with this and Picari combo, you will add from your deck to your hand the I Meet You, but in this particular one, you actually want to add the Idol Reborn, and I'll essentially explain that in the end. Now, we're going to use the effect of the field spell once more, since we haven't used a Chi-Chi for this card effect. We're going to special summon the Chi-Chi, and then turn it once more into our copy of, well, Infant under this zone of Templar. Now we're going to chain link 1 Templar, chain link 2 Infant. Infant will move here, become Divine or Water this time, and essentially we're going to special summon 3 out of our graveyard. We're going to special summon a Dark, Light, and a Wind out of our graveyard. Now it might look a little bit weird, but because of these, we can actually make a rank 4 play. Now granted, because of this, you can also summon the Fire, so it doesn't really matter, but, you know, it doesn't really matter what you do, because you're going to take 2 of these and actually make the rank 4 of the, well, Math Mech. Now we're going to use the effect of it, basically to touch 2, and add from your deck to your hand the copy of Circular. Circular effect, send to the graveyard the addition, and special summon it out of the hand. Now we're going to use the effect of Alborian, or whatever his name is, to tribute itself, or should I say any, I guess, monster, but tribute itself to special summon back the addition out of our graveyard, and that will trigger the effect of Mathematics Circular to add to our hand the equation, activate the equation, and special summon this back out of our graveyard. Now in this particular point, we got Wind, Fire, Earth, Divine or Water, whatever you chose, Light, and Dark. All of these are 6 different attributes, and now we can summon once more our 6,000 attack Arrival Cyberse. Now on top of that, we're going to set the copy of Idol Reborn and pass the turn to our opponent. During the opponent's turn, whenever we want to, we activate Idol Reborn, reviving back the Bururu out of our graveyard, and then triggering its effect to send to our graveyard the Denmari. Now in some particular cases, you could actually say that this combo is a little bit better even than the next one I will show you, because the Denmari is not in your graveyard, so it's not susceptible for things like Diddy Crow. But on the other hand, you can also look at this a little bit worse, because you have to special summon this to then get your Interruption engraved. But regardless, you both got now in your graveyard the, well, this card, which is an Interruption, and this card, which is an interruption of cards that you can actually use, as well as 4 additional cards in your hand. But that does it for combo number 2. Now let's move on into the final combo, which is probably the most obvious one of the starter combos, which is either using Picari or a Chi-Chi, and I'm going to show you that one pretty quickly. So for our third and final combo, it's basically going to be a pretty simple one that everybody should already know. You need either to open up with yellow or open up with red. It doesn't really matter which one of these you open up with. If you open up with this, you search the I Meet You, which will then search for you this, which will then search the Doyon. If you open up with this will search this, which this will search the I Meet You, which will search the Doyon. It's kind of like a weird kind of a circle, if you will consider it that, so that's actually pretty cool. But for this particular combo, I'm going to start with the Chi-Chi, as I always like to, because I always like the red more than the yellow. But that's my own personal preference, I guess. So to start things off, we're going to normal summon the Chi-Chi, and we're going to trigger its effect, of course, to add from our deck to our hand the copy of Picari. We're going to use the Chi-Chi, as always, to make the Dark Infant, the field spell, activate the field spell, use field spell effect, summon Picari. Picari will search I Meet You. I Meet You will search for you the copy of, well, Doyon after you reveal to your opponent this, or access code if you played it in your extra deck. So we now add to our hand the copy of Doyon, and we're going to take both of these to link summon into our copy of Wicked. Now we're going to use the effect once more, special summon the Doyon, Doyon Chainlink 2, this Chainlink 1. Chainlink 2 will add from our graveyard back to our hand the Achichi. If you started with the Picari, you add the Picari to your hand. This is basically the difference with these two particular plays, because you want to add to your hand the one that you haven't used for this card effect. So, because I use the Achichi, you add Achichi to your hand. If you use Picari, you add the Picari to your hand. Now we're going to use the effect of Wicked to banish the Dark Infant and add from our deck to our hand the copy of Bururu. Link these two away into our copy of Splash Mage. And now, since we don't have monsters in our main monster zone again, we can special summon the Bururu. And of course, I forgot to use the effect of Doyon, which also add this to your hand after it's link summoned. But regardless, after that, you special summon this due to this card effect. Then we're going to use this card effect to center our graveyard, this time because we can the Denmari already. Now we're going to use the effect of Splash Mage to special summon one of your level 4s. It doesn't matter. Now we're going to take Doyon plus, well, Bururu, to Synchro Summon into our copy of Wind Pegasus, as always. Now we're going to use the effect of Bururu Engrave, special summon the Doyon. Doyon plus Splash Mage plus, well, Wind Pegasus equal the, not you, the other one, which is this one. Basically, I mixed these two because I wanted to show you this guy first. But anyway, you special summon this, and since we do have another attribute in our hand that we haven't used, because like I said, add the one that you haven't used with this card effect with Doyon, we can actually special summon this again, or should I say special summon this for the first time with this card, and then we're going to link it off once again into a second copy of Dark Infant. Now Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. Chainlink 2, move and become either a water or a divine. Always recommend to pick divine because it's just the one that will keep you less confused. But if you want this water, again, you can do whatever you want to. And then this card effect will trigger to give you, well, Dark Wind, which is important, and you have to summon the Wind, and then the Light. Now we take Light and Dark as before to Exceed Summon into our copy of our Earth. Earth immediately will activate the effect to basically detach 2 and add to your hand the Circular. Circular will send to the graveyard the copy of Edition and special summon itself. This will trigger its effect, pop itself, which is a tribute itself, to special summon the Edition. This will trigger the effect of Circular, add to your hand the Equation, activate Equation, special summon back the Xyz, and then we can take Earth, Wind, Fire, Light, Dark, and let's say Water in this particular case, to once again summon for the third and final time in this combo section our copy of Arrival cyberse with 6 interruptions. And again, just like as before, we do have the Adignister, Wind Pegasus of course, and the Denmari. Now, in this particular combo, the reason why I consider it a little bit better because you also have a card for next turn and 4 additional cards, so you technically didn't lose any card. But also you could consider it a little bit worse because the Denmari is in your graveyard and it's a little bit more susceptible to Crow, like I mentioned. But regardless, this card is still absolutely amazing, and this is just still 2 interruptions, still on Arrival cyberse that is very hard to remove because it's 6,000, and it's very hard for an access code to get to it, and it's just a very, very cool combo. But that does it for the combo section. Sorry if it took a little bit longer than I wanted to, but you know, some combos are a little bit more longer than others. Now let's move on into the end of the video. Alright, so moving on into the next deck choices. As I said before, unfortunately it's going to take me a little bit more of a time to go to some of the lists that I promised before because of the fact that Hockey Firebreaks and some particular cards got banned that I actually planned to use. So it'll take me a little bit more time, but for the time being, like I said, the neck list is going to be Lunalight, either Tri-Brigade or Pure. I haven't decided, maybe even both. And essentially at least giving us a little bit more time until we'll get new cards that I ordered. They're essentially also just supposed to help me build other decks, as well as, you know, just in general, let me prepare until Hockey Firebreaks damages will be sorted, I guess. But that's pretty much does it for the video, and if you have learned something, I'm really, really happy that I was able to teach you something new. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this list. Again, if you will change something for yourself, a like will also be appreciated, and subscribe will also help me motivate me to want to create more. But that's pretty much it. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.